Hello, everyone. It is 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. So before we start, we would like to conduct a quick poll. You shall see a question on your screen, and it will be very kind of you to share your responses. I am just starting the poll, and I'll wait for the responses for 60 seconds. So we are waiting for another 60 seconds. The question is, how are you currently provisioning users from your SIS to Active Directory? So another 30 seconds, and then we start off with the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing the responses. This really helps us set up the tone for today's session. I'll request Russell to take it from here.
Now, on behalf of the entire QuickLaunch team, I would like to thank approximately 47 institutions, including Winston-Salem State University, the University of Tennessee, Humber College, Northeastern University, Lewis University, and several other institutions who are dialed in today for the presentation. Setting the agenda of today's session, QuickLaunch would like to showcase a robust, intuitive cloud service for automating access control and identity lifecycle management, aiming at quickest deployment time at lowest cost possible. Our key presenter for today's session is Neeraj Kent, CEO of QuickLaunch. A brief overview about QuickLaunch. QuickLaunch ideated the product concept in 2013, and in the year 2014, we successfully released single sign-on and a multi-protocol translator called IDP or Identity Provider. Then came mobility in the picture along with password management that uses multi-factor authentication. Early 2018, QuickLaunch unleashed the automated user provisioning along with onboarding 15 institutions from the higher education, namely LaSalle University, Hawaii Pacific University, St. Mary's University, Community College of Philadelphia, and many more as early adopters. The idea was to break the old model of user provisioning and create a new method which is painless, fast, predictable, scalable, and yet cost-effective. Being in higher education for all these years, we have identified few basic yet very important challenges users face on day-to-day basis, like multiple username and passwords, multiple login screens, user onboarding, and many more. The solution QuickLaunch has to offer to overcome these pain areas are a flip a switch integration, intuitive configuration and administration, managed cloud service. To discuss this in detail, I would now like to pass on the platform over to Neeraj to kickstart the provisioning discussion.
Thank you, Russell. Good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to welcome you all on behalf of QuickLaunch. Interesting times at QuickLaunch. Last year, during our conference, a lot of institutions came to us and they started asking us that, can QuickLaunch stand on its own 2 feet, and instead of just behaving as an identity provider, can we really do provisioning, deprovisioning? I see today Louis is on the call. He's been on many conferences with QuickLaunch. He's our existing member, and we've got quite a few other new members who have joined in today. And this drive came to us specifically from Banner Institution because some of them were using Banner back in those days, LMG, LMB. There was BEIS, which got renamed to EIS, and then that journey continued. As of today, they have Ethos. I do see Lewis University on the call. They're using Ethos. So this journey is not ending, resulting in institutions now migrating towards solutions like Okta. Again, I take the example of Lewis University. Looks like they're also implementing Okta, interestingly, for password reset. So, and again, identity is a pretty big realm. And we, as QuickLaunch, we've been serving institutions for over 7 years now. Our envisioning was that, can we step in and do provisioning, deprovisioning really well? Russell mentioned flip a switch. That's the theme, which is, can we go codeless? Because most of you, I see the poll results as well, you're using custom scripts. They're difficult to maintain. Auditors can come in and have issues tomorrow because of the processes involved in those custom scripts. And obviously, you don't have budgets right now to implement SailPoint, which starts at $1 million, or Fisher International, which takes 9 months minimum to implement. So today we're going to talk about how can we get you to QuickLaunch and literally do a flip a switch and get you live in less than a week and solve the problem which we're seeing in higher education. So let's go through some problems before we talk about solutioning those problems. So journey starts as an applicant. I'm an applicant. I would like to go to Lewis University. I'm going to fill the form. One fine day, I'll be from a prospect, I'll become an applicant. I'll apply, I'll pay my fee, and as the process commences, I'll basically become a student. So journey of a prospect, becoming an applicant, becoming a student. Where's that information going? That's all going in your student information system. Most of the schools today are banner schools, so it's going into your banner. But folks who are PeopleSoft colleague, we have solutions for you as well. When that happens, here comes provisioning, which either is currently happening using your custom scripts. Most of you stated you're using custom scripts. Some of you might be doing it manually, which I don't anticipate, and some of you might be spending lots and lots of dollars on maintaining, managing technologies like Fortify Identity Manager, Microsoft Identity Manager, so on and so forth. So that's the area of concern we're going to look at solving today. But with that, you obviously push that account in Active Directory using your scripts or again using your tools. What happened next, which we are very familiar with, you all send a welcome letter saying, hey, NK, welcome to Lewis University. Here is your user ID, and could be that here is your password. You might be sending them the password. We have seen that happening. Or you might be giving them the magic recipe of what that password needs to be. Both of these cases are not good. We should not do that. And we're going to look at today how our provisioning engine is also going to solve that problem. Last but not the least, once that problem is solved, how can we get that account to your learning management system, to your email system, to your library system, and miscellaneous systems? This discussion is not just about Banner to Active Directory. Each one of you are spending time pushing course information from Banner to your learning management system. Can we also provide that to you, get you a one-stop environment to deal with? Last but not the least, we believe that we owe you a forgot password and help you resetting the password with all the bells and whistles, which comes with a true multi-factor system. And what I'm trying to position ourselves as is how can QuickLaunch truly behave as one stop so that you don't have to implement, number one, ethos, number two, CAD, number three, technologies like Okta, one login, and number four, specifically, how can we get you off your custom script? That's the envisioning and journey that we're going to demonstrate to you all today as part of our product demonstration. So let's get going. We'll show you all hands-on. I'm not going to, from here on in, use slide deck, so I'm just going to get that off. And I'm going to use real systems, show you some real data, show you provisioning in action, And we're going to look at spending 20 minutes on that. Then we'll get into the Q&A. So I'm playing my screen again. You should see a PHP admin. Consider this is your banner system or PeopleSoft or colleagues. This should look really familiar to you all. Here comes Active Directory. And this should also look familiar to you. This is your current login screen, whatever solutions you're using, but QuickLaunch is also going to help you replace those. So if I go to quickly, Lewis, if they don't mind, if they're using Blackboard, they also have My Lewis, which is actually using Ethos identity for single sign-on, and I'm sure they've then separately spent a fair bit of dollars implementing Okta for password reset. So here comes their Okta. And I strongly feel it's a little disconnected in regards with user experience. So I'm going to look at also helping today on how can we provide first-in-class user experience to our clients who are students, obviously in higher education. So let's look at coming up with a story. I'm going to use Lewis as an example. He's on the call from one of our institutions. I'm going to create a record for him today. And let's see how that provisioning happens. So if I just pause my screen, I'm going to take Lewis, user ID, and look at pushing that into my banner system. So here comes Lewis. I'm giving him a unique identifier. Story is pretty simple. I'm creating a student. And I want you to see how fast provisioning is going to kick in. So, and I've given Lewis my personal email, my phone number, just so that I can show you all the bells and whistles. And here comes the record for Lewis. So Lewis is created. Here is Lewis, and I've basically made him student so that I can explain you the concept as well. What should have happened by now that account should have moved to Active Directory. Here you go. And Lewis, I apologize, I did not put the last name, and I do want to create that as a problem and then solve it. So here is Lewis in Active Directory. I have first name, I've used the same last name. It created automatically full name. And provisioning, folks, is all about what is going to be the user ID. In banner terminology, it is the GovTPAC external user, LDAP user. You guys know those terms really well. So what is the magic behind creating a SAM account name or a user principal name for the user? I got my personal email, my mobile from banner to Active Directory, home run. Point that I want you to take a note of is I did not give a password to Lewis. So let's see what could have happened if Lewis is going passwordless, right? So let's look at how is QuickLaunch really uplifting your user experience. Can we do custom attributes from banner to Active Directory? 100%. Can your users have different rules for generating user IDs for student, staff, and faculty? Absolutely. Can we do group membership? There you go. Lewis is student. Can users have multiple hats for the groups? Yes. All of that is possible, and you're going to love the administrative module when we reach that stage. Watch what happens. You guys currently use your admissions department. They send welcome letters. None of that is needed. It says, Dear Lewis, congratulations, your account is active with, let's say, Lewis University. Your login ID is Lewis. I'm going to copy that. Click here for registration. And folks, that click here is your first interaction as a student with, let's say, Lewis University. This page is going to be branded for you by you. All the logos, color combination is going to come, but this is where you start. You don't have to go to a login page, figure out registration. I'll give you a link forward an email to you as a student. So let's get going. I'm saying, okay, I'm Lewis. I just copied that user ID. System says, hey, I know you, Lewis, either from your email or SMS. Which one would you want to use? And I'm saying, let's rock and roll with SMS. So I just clicked on SMS, and truly, this is not provisioning, right? Now I'm using some cool multi-factor authentication, which comes built in. Here comes one-time token on my cell phone. I just put my phone on ringer so that you all can hear the phone ringing. And I just provided one-time token. Now, this is significant, guys. Using provisioning, we sent this user a welcome letter. User used multi-factor, which means you don't need tools like Duo to provide you multi-factor. We have that built in, and now system is challenging me that, hey, Louis, rock and roll, set up a password for yourself. So I can now create my own password, which means you don't have to give a default password. You don't have to worry about security. You don't have to make them change password when they log in for the first time. Rather, you're making it secure yet simple. And finally, I am being given the opportunity to see the login page of, let's say, Lewis University, for which you don't need ethos. It would also come in out of the box with QuickLaunch. And what I'm going to do is, let's log in to Lewis University as user Lewis. And as soon as I log in, you would see all the single sign-ons. They're going to appear on the screen. So pretty much not just provisioning, how can we also give you all of the applications which you as a student should be seeing, starting from banner to register for classes, your learning management system, you're using Gmail versus Office 365. All these applications are not only getting provisioned, they would also be then visible depending upon who this user Louis is. I hope that helps understand my journey as a student. I'm going to log out, and let's continue provisioning discussion. What I want to do next is, let's imagine it's been 3-4 years, Louis has graduated and is continuing with Lewis University as faculty. So let's figure out where user Louis is. Louis is right here. Click on edit and change the role, because that's one of the things that you guys do and would want to see what happens when there is a role change. So I just made Louis staff. He's no longer student. Go. And Louis, who's actually on the call today to answer your question on real time, watch the screen. I'm just going to refresh you. Here comes Louis. Here comes member of. Here comes staff. So it is technically not even taking a second. It's real time, and it's pushing that change not just into Active Directory, but let's see where all. So I'm going to go back to my example, log back in as Louis, and watch what happens. So I'm deviating a little bit intentionally from the topic of provisioning, but folks, look what just happened. I tried logging in, system detected a risk on Louis. Let's figure out why. And as soon as it's detected, it is now challenging me to prove I'm truly Louis. So great thing, you don't have to buy another tool. It's built in with provisioning at no additional dollar. And if you use QuickLaunch for your single sign-on as well, instead of using ethos, you don't have to, firstly, maintain manage ethos. Secondly, all your applications would use QuickLaunch. Thirdly, will empower you with a true adaptive authentication. So at this point in time, system wakes up and says, I don't trust you, Louis, prove this is you. Why? Because this device is not even added as a trusted device. So pretty good. I'm going to put that code back in. And obviously, I can then opt in to remember this device, or I might not want to opt in for that. And look at the user experience. It is totally different, because as staff, some of the applications are pre-provisioned, some of the applications got provisioned. So depending upon what business process you have, each one of you are going to be different. We can cater to your business processes and do provisioning, deprovisioning, using truly flip a switch concept, which I'm going to show you from an administration console as well. Let's log out. Let's complete the story. I picked up Lewis University today as an example, and I mentioned they have a forgot password separate. Let's look at our forgot password. It gives you the same look and feel, which makes your user experience better, and it then prompts me to enter a username, and here comes same factors yet again. So now I have the same factors, which means if I'm being challenged, I'm using same factor. Then I opt in to recall my username because I forgot my username, same factors. when I'm trying to reset my password, same factors. So it becomes a blessing because another problem which we want each one of you to solve for yourself with our help is number of calls going to your help desk. They would obviously increase if you have 7 different platforms running and they're not connected, resulting in users having separate set of questions for, let's say, resetting their passwords, and then Duo has separate measures to enable true multi-factor authentication. So folks, that's a quick high level in regards with what QuickLaunch has to offer you, how seamlessly it gels in together with all of the bits and pieces, starting from single sign-on to password reset to multi-factor to adaptive. Most importantly, the governance on user provisioning, deprovisioning. And one of the things that I want to talk about is we are not limited to email and SMS. If you like security questions, we can get them done for you. If you like Touch ID, hard tokens like YubiKey, Google Authenticator, we can get that done for you. So we can add as many factors as you want, and most importantly, you could also implement different factors for different constituents in your campus. The use case could be folks who are having keys to the kingdom. We really care about them going through a bare minimum 2 factors. That's the right way to think. But if we make our doors too tight, too complicated for students, at the end of the day, they'll be lost in translation. They're going to call you, they'll request for a password reset, and that's not something which we want them doing. So again, a lot of emphasis there. I'm going to quickly segue looking at the time into reports. There's lots and lots of reports which comes with QuickLaunch. We care about you knowing from where the users are coming in. And if you don't like, can we blacklist, let's say, Colombia, Brazil, whatever city, country. Idea is that I want you to have your eyes on the platform and envision that there could be a potential account takeover coming from a country, city, state, and you might want to have geo enabled for your institution. What applications are being used the most? What browsers and devices are being used the most? Who's accessing from those applications? How can we give you those reports? Is something which comes out of the box with QuickLaunch. Let's take it to the next level. We talked about single sign-on. I'm going to go into password reset and show you the reports there, and then we'll talk about obviously provisioning, deprovisioning, admin console as well. So here comes password manager reports. And what you're going to see is, again, lots of insights in regards with who has changed their password successfully, who has failed to change, why have they failed to change. And what you would see is it will also give you metrics of, is SMS working really well or not, because that should have 100% reliability provided via phone numbers. So that also gives your help desk the ability to monitor and maintain which factors are really working for institution like you all, and you might have different answers to it. There's no one successful mantra towards what is the best factor. At times, we have to figure that out as we implement, because your relay might choke. You might have international students, and you might need support to have multiple SMS countries supported, which we have obviously figured that out for you as well. So again, there could be there could be different requirements for each one of you as well. Some of you might want to use truly hard tokens for your administrators to help protect what they do as part of their job roles as well. So you might want to implement hard tokens and things of that nature. Let's continue. We'll show you now how did I provision users when it comes to QuickLaunch from banner to Active Directory. I'm just going to log into admin console. I've just paused my screen for a few seconds, and I'll show you how that's going to work out. So folks, the journey is going to start on the same administrative console by giving you a list of all the connectors which you might want to use or which you have configured already. So for example, it's going to be a one-time setup for you to configure Active Directory. And this green, which you saw me having in there, was telling you that AD is up and running. Otherwise, this would go red. which is great because you do care about knowing, is my destination dead? Yeah, because of which your users are not even getting created. So that's a great way to understand. But let's look at the magic which I was talking about. So here comes, let's say, banner 280. I truly call this platform as integration platform as a service. And I use this term, let's switch or go codeless. So what it says is, okay, you're Lewis University, give me a connection name. You could simply say Lewis banner 280 or test banner to test 80. And then you could say, cool, I'm going to move. So this is where we've done things really different compared to your custom script. What is the username, which is your SAM account name, which could be coming in from feedback external user? Where should I map it? Here's my ID schema. Great. So I can just simply also create a new attribute on the fly. How do I generate email addresses? Is it username at? Do I need to use first character of username, then last name? Should I put a magic number if the same attribute or user ID exists? So platform is really flexible is what I'm trying to tell you in regards with mapping these objects on the fly and defining which one are required, which one are unique, and you can obviously add a new one with just one thing. So pretty easy, and you could also define if is it as is or are you going to do a custom transformation and all that. Most importantly, as soon as you go to groups, which is one of the pain points I've seen across all the implementations we've done so far, where should students be going? Where is staff going to go? What if you have thousands of groups on the left, which is coming from banner? What if you have a scenario wherein somebody is a student or a staff or student and staff both? What happens if I can handle multi-affiliation? So if you're a student and staff and you tell me create a new group called as to staff, it's the new name I just came up with, can we support that? Absolutely, yes. We can do all that as well. We can continue to move using attribute updates real time. A lady gets married, surname gets updated. Can we handle that? Yes. What happens if the object in banner is said to be disabled? It's not active. Should I disable network access? Should I remove that account from 30 days? Should I move them into OU disabled? Should I move them into OU alumni? You would each have different answers to my statement that I just made, and we'll work with each one of you to understand what should we do based on the requirements that you have. And the idea is to not go across all the universities and give you a customized solution. We believe in giving you a configurable solution so that we can achieve this purpose and yet bring the power of each one of you by giving you all the configurations so that we can reuse those configurations instead of having to live in a bubble of giving QuickLaunch a lot of money on professional services. We really want to move away from that. Whatever we do, it's going to be added to the platform, and it's that simple that we're not talking about spending 1,000 man hours on implementing this particular solution for you. Here comes the email template, easy to govern, easy to configure. If there is a student account getting created, updated, modified, all the changes can be handled, and that email notification can be sent as well. For certain situation, would you want to write back to banner? There could be various situations. You might want to use Microsoft Object Width, which gets generated in AD, and you want to write that back in banner. You might be one of the schools who's not creating user ID in banner. You might want AD to pick that up and then write that back under feedback external user. Can we do that? Absolutely, yes. We can do all 9 yards. Is it real time? Am I going to do 30 minutes, hourly? We don't recommend any of that. We recommend real time. And you saw me making the changes real time. So folks, that's a quick overview. I would say 30,000 feet overview in regards with how we're doing provisioning, deprovisioning. We're really proud. We've taken it to the next level. We've taken schools live in less than even 3 weeks by implementing everything on test and staging and then rolling the changes into production. So the platform is really intuitive. And most importantly, what I want to tell you with the presentation is, if you take provisioning, everything else is pre-included. Should you get rid of ethos today? Not needed. Eventually, you can do that. Or if you may decide, let's do that as step 1, we could do that as well. But it's going to give you You'll be able to divest from the investments you've made, and perhaps agreed that if you're thinking about spending 10 grand with Duo security, it's built in. You don't have to do that. And all the custom work, all the resources you're currently doing custom scripts, all that time and effort can be saved. And most importantly, this is going to complement your help desk really, really well and reduce the volumes which comes to your help desk. So that's basically, folks, what we wanted to cover on the call today. I'm going to hand it over back to Russell and see if there are any questions at this point in time from anyone who has joined this webinar. Russell, back over to you. Let's open it up for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. Definitely, we will be pausing for 2 minutes and opening the lines for any questions that any of you have. So you can type in your question.
There is a follow-up question I have from Michael. Is the synchronization real-time? Yes, we support Banner 280 real-time account provisioning. Not only Banner, we have 200 plus connectors. So be Janzabar, Datatel Colleague, any of those ERPs, SIS system, it would be a real-time synchronization. There's one more question I have. What is the implementation cycle? So a typical implementation cycle for complete user provisioning starts somewhere around 2 weeks to 2 months. For single sign-on, password manager, multi-factor authentication, the typical implementation cycle starts from anywhere about 48 hours to 2 weeks. There is another question from Janet that says, how do you deal with sign-out? So we do have a global sign-out policy configured, which is from the admin console. So that's how we deal with sign-outs. Team, we're gonna wait for another 2 to 3 minutes to see if there are more questions before we wrap up today's session. We have another question that says, do we need ethos if we implement QuickLaunch? No, absolutely not. Ethos is, once you implement QuickLaunch, we take over your single sign-on user provisioning whole 9 yards, so you wouldn't have to maintain ethos separately on-premise at an additional cost. Yes, Adam. There would be a follow-up email that you will receive, which will have the recording link of this session. There's another question from Nate that says, do you provide Cloud AD? Yes, we do. We do provide Cloud AD, which can replicate your AD on-premise, or if in case you do not have an AD on-premise, we can spin one up for you in the cloud. Another question, do you have plan to implement fingerprint as MFA? Yes, that is in the roadmap. We've recently launched YubiKey. The next one to launch would be Google Authenticator. So fingerprint as an additional factor of authentication will be launched by this year. One more question. Do you do deep provisioning? Yes, we definitely do deep provisioning. That is a part of the entire user provisioning solution.
Wow, there is one more question, and we're gonna end after this question. The question is, can we have different policies for different users? Absolutely, we do support role-based access, so you can have different policies for different users, groups that will be coming from your Active Directory. I hope that answers your question, Nate. Folks, any more questions before we wrap up today's session? Okay, I would take that as a no. Also, folks, as I mentioned, you would receive a follow-up email with the recording link for today's session. Also, if you check your screen, the pricing is shared for QuickLaunch Premium, which includes automated provisioning, single sign-on, smart password manager, first-time user, adaptive MFA, all that we covered on today's session. And if you sign up by June 15th, you get additional 35% off on product licensing. That is because you've been part of today's session. With that, we would wrap up today's session. Thank you, everybody, for dialing in and taking our time to meet us today. All of you have a wonderful day ahead.